In this video, I want to go ahead and talk about the most anticipated match I want to say so far this season, right? We got Atletico Madrid in the quarterfinals of the Champions League, which historically speaking is not good for Barca. So I want to get your intake on what do you think um, could happen in this match, after seeing what happened over the weekend, right? We could talk about possible lineups as well, score predictions. And yeah, let's go ahead and start with how do you see Barca going into this match after what we saw over the weekend against Atletico Madrid away, from home?
Yeah. Going based off on the game that we saw, obviously on Saturday against Atletico de Madrid at the Metropolitano, just real quick, when Barcelona and Atletico Madrid both had 11 men on the field, obviously Barcelona, they kind of seemed like they were struggling, right? And Atletico Madrid seemed pretty confident. They were playing a good game. I mean, they scored first. Barcelona goes ahead and then ties it up real soon after. I think like 2, 3 minutes later, Rashford and Olmo clicked in for a really good play. But overall, right, I think 11v11, Barcelona didn't look as comfortable as they should have looked, and they didn't seem too confident, in my opinion. I was surprised that he started only almost at false nine, and I'm not surprised because I don't think he's not good enough because remember Fleek tried Dani Olmo in the preseason in the first games of the season as a false nine, and I think Dani Olmo was good as a false nine, right? More than better than Ferran Torres, of course. So obviously then, Atletico Madrid scored. I mean, they get a red card, I'm sorry. The game shifts, which we know, right? When Atletico Madrid got a red card, I said, I don't really like when they get red cards. Any team gets red cards because they close the gaps, right? It comes to more of a very, very like small touch possession, light game, very quick, small touches. They have to pick the pockets, and Atletico Madrid, they're very good defensively. So I knew Barcelona were going to struggle a lot more, and that's what happened. Barcelona they won the game by a you could say a pretty much lucky rebound. And going based off on that game, right? I think now we move to the Champions League game. Barcelona now is going to be playing the first leg at home tomorrow. I will say, dude, believe it or not, I'm a little confident in going into this game. A lot of people may disagree with me because they may say, like, "Well, what are you talking about?" Barcelona, they were struggling. Yes, I admit that Barcelona were struggling, but this is against Atletico Madrid at the Metropolitano, right? And at Camp Nou, it's not going to be as easy as people think it is, right? And I think that we both you and I have seen how good Barcelona could look at the Camp Nou, especially the Camp Nou being reopened right now. Again.
Yep.
So this game, bro, I'm thinking that Barcelona can go ahead and I think they can go ahead and put 2 or 3 goals behind Atletico Madrid. Are they going to seal the game? No, but I think they can go ahead and put 2, 3 behind them. Now, what happens defensively? That's a different, that's a different story. But yeah, I'm going to say that Barcelona wins by 2 or 3 goals, and I think that tomorrow we see a good football match, bro. In my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think the weekend's game it was pretty hard. It was pretty tight. I think you know Atletico Madrid are how can I say it? They're biters, right? They don't make it easy for you. They don't make it easy for you at all. And we should not forget that Barca conceded 4 goals in that stadium not that long ago, and Real Madrid
Mm-hmm.
conceded five. They conceded 5 goals there. So a lot of even like high level teams that go there, they struggle in that stadium. It's not easy for any team to just go in there and put 3 goals past Atletico Madrid or 4 goals past Atletico Madrid. So I think I agree with you. I think the game shifted and it changed to a more you know defensive right game for Atletico Madrid after the red card. Um, and then it was harder for Barca to find the gaps, to find the open spaces. That's when you really, see the technical abilities of the players. That's why I think Barca depended a lot on what Pedri or Lamine Yamal were attempting to do. Joan Cancelo was good, to be honest, because Joan Cancelo is also good in those tight
Right.
spaces. He can make a difference there, which
Mm-hmm.
is good. That's where you want to have him, which, eventually he did make the difference, right? Because of him, the rebound that he shot, Lewandowski scored that, of course, lucky goal, right? But that was good. I think I also do want to mention that Atletico Madrid, they rested a lot of their players, their starting players. They rested Lookman, they rested Julian Alvarez, right, for that game. And then they also took off a lot of the starters, around the 60th minute, I believe. Simeone was doing a lot of changes to rest the players for this game. So I think this game coming up, bro, is the most important game out of all three. And I know people may say,
Yeah,
"What are you talking about? What are you talking about? The second leg is going to be the most important." Well, not really, because the reason why I say this is because for those that don't know, Atletico Madrid, they have a cup tie, a Spanish cup, the Copa del Rey final, that same weekend. When they had the second leg against Barcelona. So with that being said, the players, even the coach, they're probably going to be thinking about that weekend game, right? Because that's the cup that they can realistically win. So they're going to be thinking about it. And it also depends, how this game turns out, this game coming up. If Barca win by a significant amount, it may even change the outlook of the second leg, because then the second leg, Atletico Madrid may not even go with a lot of the starters because they may be resting for the cup tie, for the cup final, right? But if Barca are not able to get a good result, let's say they tie up the game like 1-1, 2-2, or 3-3, or they win by one goal, then that's when it can become more tricky. They can become a lot more tricky. And even Hansi Flick said it, right? Hansi Flick said that, I don't know if you heard this, but he told, supposedly there was news that he told the players that they have to kill off the tie in this game coming up, because if not,
right.
it's going to be really hard for them to win away from home at Atletico Madrid. So I think this game is the most important out of all three. Barca could have even, technically speaking, they could have gotten away with a tie or a loss in the first game, and they still would have been fine because Real Madrid lost their game. So that's what I'm saying. I think this is the most important one. I think Barca need to take advantage of that. Barca need to take advantage that Atletico Madrid have a cup tie final that same week, and they need to go all out, bro. I want to see a very similar game to what I saw, in the second leg of the Spanish Super Cup tie, the semifinal when Barca beat them 3-0. They have to put a similar performance out there, bro. They have to, because if they don't, then they're gonna end up, tying the game or maybe just winning by one goal, which is not what you want to take back to the second leg. So yeah, I think historically speaking, right, Atletico Madrid already knocked out Barca twice in the last 10 years, right? It was twice under Luis Enrique, twice in the
Yeah,
quarterfinals. So we this is the third time, so it would not be a good look if Barca get eliminated by Atletico Madrid again, bro, in the quarterfinals of the Champions League for the third time in a row. It won't be a good look, and it's not good at all, to be honest. So yeah, I want to go ahead and I want to see Barca, put out a good game. I agree with you. I can see Barca, if they have a similar performance to what they did, the second leg of the Copa del Rey, I can see them, winning by 2 goal difference, I want to say. So maybe I can see like a 3-1 or 4-2 win by Barca. You know, um, yeah, that's sort of what I see. But I mean, if you want to add anything to it, I wanted to talk about lineups real quick to see who do you think is going to start, or who do you think Flick is going to bench?
Yeah, you know what? Before we go to lineups, just real quick, I also want to, and I agree with, I just kind of want to go back to one of your first statements. I agree with it, just to add more to it, because we both knew, right? We both talked in the previous video that the game against Atletico de Madrid versus Barcelona La Liga at the Metropolitano was going to be more harder for Barcelona, or more important for Barcelona than it was for Atletico de Madrid, right? Given the
Yeah,
stats where they were at located in La Liga, right? Barcelona still obviously fighting for La Liga. Mallorca beats Real Madrid, and then Barcelona comes down and says, "Okay, hey, oh yeah, we need to go ahead and definitely win this game, right?" And then Atletico de Madrid obviously are just trying to make it harder for Barcelona, as they're a top team.
yeah,
With that being said, Barcelona, they couldn't afford to take their foot off the pedal, in the game in the Metro. So with that being said, a lot of people may say, "Oh, you know what?" But it's because they kind of played bad. But if you really look at the game, Barcelona, yes, we're struggling, like I mentioned in the beginning. They didn't seem as confident, they didn't seem as comfortable. But then again, going to what you said, and not many teams can go to the Metro, to the Wanda, right, and pretty much beat Atletico de Madrid or even smash them. So Barcelona lost by 4 goals. Like you just mentioned, they got scored 4 goals and Real Madrid 5. That says a lot, right? So I think that now, it kind of gives Barcelona a little bit of confidence boost, because, in my opinion, they're gonna go home. They're playing at home, and they're gonna say, "Hey, you know what? We beat them at the Wanda. Yes, it wasn't as an easy match, but it was anticipated, right? It
hmm
was pretty much anticipated. I think a lot of people are starting to. I think a lot of people forget that Atletico de Madrid is no longer the Atletico de Madrid in the early 2000s, for example, right? When Cholo first came in, Simeone first came in, when they pretty much weren't competing against Real Madrid or Barcelona. Now, they can kind of go at it against Barcelona and Real Madrid in a leg or even in the series. And we're seeing it now, 3 games and in a matter of a month, we're gonna see how complicated things. Atletico Madrid can make it for certain teams, just like Barcelona.
Yeah.
So I think Barcelona is going to go ahead and get a little confidence boost. Call me crazy, but I think that it's going to help Barcelona go ahead and you know go at home, and in my opinion, they're going to put up a good performance. And
Um,
in terms of the lineups, just to kind of give you my lineup predictions, bro. Let me just start off with the surprise I mentioned earlier, right? We go into the game in La Liga and then we see almost a false nine. I said, wow, that's crazy, surprising, but good. I said, in my opinion, right? Because first things first, you called that you say he may give rest to Lewandowski, which he did, right? Given the fact that we both believe, I'm pretty sure that he's going to play start tomorrow. So I think Lewandowski starts tomorrow, right? But in my opinion, almost a false nine didn't do too bad. That's just my opinion, right? So it wouldn't be a bad it wouldn't be bad to introduce maybe Olmo, kind of see how he does again, or even be the substitute of that of Lewandowski. Who knows, right? I think that's up to Fleek. But I still say start with Lewandowski, right? We need a finisher in the box. We need a clinical finisher, someone who can afford to lose chances. We can afford to lose chances. So I think Lewandowski can go ahead and, smash him in. I liked Rashford's performance as well. If I'm being honest with you, I really enjoyed Rashford's performance. I think that he looked confident, he looked good. So I'm gonna go ahead with Rashford again. Lamine Yamal is a no-brainer, of course, we know that, right? And the other camp position, I'm going for Fermin. Right, Fermin, he loses his head. Sometimes he makes dumb mistakes. Sometimes it's espera mucho. He's playing like at a different, you could say, speed than that from the other players. But I still think that the pressure he brings to the pitch is very much needed. And then I think that CDM position obviously is going to be occupied by Pedri. The pivots is going to be Pedri and Eric Garcia, right? And then Kunde's back, so I will put Kunde, of course, Gerard Martin, Kubarsi, and Joao Cancelo. I know. Um, I think that is the Valdez back. I think if I'm not mistaken, or he's starting to be back, but I wouldn't put Valde. Actually, I will go as far as say that Valde needs to go ahead and do a lot more to recover for his starting spot. So that's my lineup, of course. So I think Barcelona can do something with that lineup. And if Lewandowski is not working out as much, I will introduce Dani Olmo as my false nine. I wouldn't play Ferran Torres. I know Fleek loves Ferran Torres, but I wouldn't play him.
yeah, I agree with you. I think it's gonna be the same lineup, dude. I don't think he's gonna go ahead and start with Balde because I think Sean Cancelo has been doing a really good job on the left side. So I don't see Balde starting. And as a matter of fact, like you said, right, Balde's gonna have to fight for his spot. And with Balde, there's rumors that if a good offer comes for him, Barca might sell him. I don't think they should do that, but
Me
if
either.
if he's not able to fight back for his spot, bro, that could also be a possibility. So because Gerard Martí can also play there as a left back, and if Barca really want to get Bastoni, where do you put Gerard Martin? So
I agree.
so I think Balde has to really, really, really fight for his spot back. He needs to return to that Balde that he was when he was fighting for a spot with Jordi Alba. So that's what he needs to do. And
Sorry
then
to cut you
as
out
right.
real quick.
Mhm.
Sorry to cut you off real quick, just real quick. I mentioned Kunde, right? Just want to get your take on it. Should he start Kunde or will you go with Araujo?
Well, I think Araujo is gonna be out, bro, if I'm not mistaken, because I think
Oh,
he.
that's
Well,
right. He's
actually, no,
injured.
no. You know what? I think he got a knock, but he's gonna be available. So that's another good
Okay.
question. I think the one that's gonna be out is gonna be Bernal. He's gonna be out for 10 days, I think. So Bernal is not gonna be
Okay.
there, but I think Araujo he just received a knock. So you know, I don't think Araujo did a bad job as right back, bro. I
Hmm.
don't think Araujo is bad in that position because I think he feels more comfortable there because he can make more mistakes there. He doesn't necessarily need to constantly worrying about the back line or keeping that back line. So I think for him, it affords him to be able to do what he does, which is to be a little bit more reckless, a little bit more not concentrating, not focused, not worried about the back line, right? So if he puts Araujo as right back, I wouldn't be surprised because Koundé's just coming back from injury. And let's not forget, Koundé, before he
Hmm.
got injured, he wasn't really doing that good either way. So and we talked about, Bande and Koundé, right? How they were both struggling to go ahead and put the same performances they were putting that season for Fleek. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, bro. I wouldn't be surprised if he decides to go with Araujo as right back for tomorrow.
Okay.
hmm And then yeah,
And then,
Yeah, the other players will be the same, bro. I agree with you. I think he's gonna start Lewa. I think he's gonna put Rashford, and I do think he's gonna put Fermin because of the pressure and the energy he puts on the field. And I do think if Lewandowski's not working out, I have a feeling, a high feeling that he's gonna put Dani almost a false nine, and if he has to put Ferran, he's gonna put him on the wing. Ferran is another one, bro. There's a lot of rumors that, finally, bro, finally. How long did it take, dude? How long did it take for us to talk about? I remember, we don't have a huge following, so maybe that's the reason why, we don't have that many followers, but we've been talking about Ferran Torres, bro. How many chances he doesn't get at Barca and opportunities and why they always keep trusting him when he's not producing on the field. And there's finally rumors that Barca are gonna be looking into getting rid of him, bro, because his deal expires in 2027, and Barca
Yeah.
have not even offered him anything, no contract extension, nothing. And supposedly they're saying that for Casado, there were some approaches to his agent where they can possibly offer him an extension. So that's a big difference right there. So it tells you a lot about Ferran Torres, bro. So I do think that in this summer, and it makes sense because I think, this summer, Barca, I do think they're gonna try to do some spending. So
Yeah.
that's why I do kind of believe it, and it makes sense that they're looking into players to get rid of. And finally, bro, Ferran Torres might be on his way out. I'm hoping it happens,
Our nightmare is going to be over. Hmm.
but I also would not be surprised, bro, if he refuses to leave. I would not be surprised.
Ask me if I'd be surprised, bro. Ask
I don't.
me.
Yeah, we wouldn't be surprised if he refuses to leave. Yeah,
You
but
know, when it comes to Ferran Torres, just real quick, when it comes to Ferran Torres and even Bastoni and even Julian Alvarez, right, which are the three transfer news that we can kind of see coming this summer, I think both you and I we can agree that that calls for a bigger video, right? Because I think that a separate video. I'm sorry, because I feel like me and you talk about this, separated, separately all the time, and we always dream about having you forward, or even we've talked about Barcelona's defense. So we can go ahead and make a video on that, bro. And I would like to because we can go further into details of why we believe certain players should leave and certain players should come. We just want to see, obviously the news
yeah,
be more confirmed. But I agree with you, dude. I agree with you with Ferran Torres. I agree with you with that of Bastoni and obviously Julian Alvarez as well. So I want to see what happens in the transfer, and during the transfer window. I want to see what happens. But
yeah,
in terms of tomorrow's game, bro, I don't start. I do not start Ferran. I don't sub him in. He had his chance, bro, against Atletico de Madrid, and come on, bro. We saw how he played. No
yeah.
difference at all.
He's always cutting all the chances, bro. He's so wasteful up there. I don't know if you saw the pass that Dani Olmo gave, and Dani Olmo did a really good move in the box, bro. It's hard for you to get the ball like that
Hmm.
and flick it over your head with your back heel. It's really hard to do that. That's an elite level thing right there. And he gave him the pass really good, bro. And Ferran Torres is just wasteful. He's just extremely wasteful, bro. And you cannot afford to have a wasteful striker up there, bro, when you want to go ahead and score as many goals as you can because you play in an exposed matter of play, right? Barca under Flick, they play exposed. They go all out. It's like you're going ultra attack on EA or FIFA, bro. That's how it is. So in order for you to do that, in order for that to work, your team needs to pressure good and your team needs to take their chances. But if you have it a player like Ferran Torres, it's just not gonna work, bro. There's just so many
We saw it.
wasted opportunities, so many wasted chances, wasted opportunities. Yeah, so yeah. Oh yeah, we'll see what happens with that. But
Yeah.
anyways,
Just
so yeah,
real,
so
just
yeah, go ahead.
just real quick. I wanted to go ahead and just add the wasteful opportunities, right? Because I think that the main perfect example, which is probably fresh in everybody's head, is the Messi against Chelsea. He had the chance
Yeah,
to shift the momentum over to Barcelona. He doesn't do it, and exactly that is the kind of opportunities that you cannot afford to miss in high level games in the Champions League, for example, bro.
you
You can't
can,
afford
bro.
to.
At the very least, in those kind of chances, make the goalkeeper look good. You know, make the goalkeeper at the very least, block your shot, but shoot it wide. Like,
Yeah, nah.
anyways, bro, like this, yeah, like we said, we just Barca under Flick, the way they play. they cannot afford to have a wasteful player like Ferran Torres. Maybe he can go ahead and work at another team that don't play as exposed as Barca do, and they can afford to
Maybe
miss chances here
Galaxy.
and there. But yeah, not at Barca, bro. It's just not gonna work out. It's just not. But yeah, anyways, yeah. So I guess we'll see what happens tomorrow, dude. Score predictions. I think we're about this. We're in the same train of thought, right? Where we believe that Barca could probably maybe get like a 2 goal difference, maybe max 3 goal difference. Hopefully, and so they can take a good advantage back to the second leg.
I agree. Yep, I'm with it.